Welcome back, everyone. Back to another episode of this Sprinter build. I hope everyone's enjoying them so far. Not getting too boring, because we're not exactly doing anything too exciting at this stage of the van. Cleaning up rust, getting it all primed. This isn't anything too exciting for everyone, but yeah, it's all part of it. And it's good for people to see. Again, keep saying that, but it is, because people don't get to see what goes into a project this big. And yeah, this is some project we're getting amongst. So yeah, the roof is pretty bad up there with rust, corrosion, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I've got my Sunday cut out for me here. Big full on day of just getting that roof, like, no matter what, I was not going home until I got that roof primed. And again, I still left myself a small section of the roof to get done. I've got some welding to get done on that actually, so yeah, that'll be coming up. Get that smashed out, finished off. And then yeah, once the shell's all primed, it's game on then. It's going to be pretty easy. It's just going to fly together then. This is all the hard stuff now, the slow process, what we're actually doing in this video. So yeah, just in between all different tools, grinding out rust, how deep some of it is. Some of it's only light surface rust, some of it's really bad and the metal's really soft and corroded. It's really pitted, so yeah. Horses for courses. Sometimes you get away with just sanding out your DA. Sometimes you got to grind it back and then you put skims of filler in. So yeah, it just depends how far it's gone really. But up there it hadn't gone bad, but it was bad enough that I had to get the grinder and stuff and start cutting it back with a grinder. And there's a wire wheel on that tool I'm just using there. They're mint for ripping rust out as well. The stainless ones are, not the brass ones. The stainless wire wheels are mega. But yeah, it's got a vast variety of tools for ripping rust out. Belt sanders, pistol grinders. Yeah, there's a lot of tools to get rust out. That was a lot of what I do on the daily, getting rust out. Not exciting, but it's part of painting. So yeah, that grinder I'm using there, the nightmare about them grinders is they're not dust extractor friendly. There's no port for you to fix a dust extractor sucker hose to. So yeah, that's a bit of a nightmare, but it is what it is. They're great for ripping metal back and ripping paint off, but they're just not the most friendliest in the workshop when there's no dust extractor to go on them. So yeah, not ideal, but I'm mainly trying to grind back or sand back, grinding marks out of the panel. I'm not really cutting paintwork off there because I'm pretty much back at bare metal now as it is. So I'm not too bothered about that. But yeah, they're just not great when you're ripping paint off because they just leave dust everywhere. But yeah, they're a great tool. Again, pistol grinder, belt sanders, them mint, all Blue Point. This isn't going to be the most exciting of videos, this, to be honest, because again, it's just all slow process stuff. It's just getting all the rust out, getting it all cleaned up, and yeah, just getting it ready for primer. Unfortunately, this is part of it all, so yeah, it's not the best of content, but it's just it's a good one to see because that roof was pretty bad for all the spider legging and all the rust that was up there. So yeah, I get this absolutely mint by the end of this video. You'll see how clean that comes up. And if you've seen the first video, you've seen how bad it was when I first originally started to take the paint off of that roof. Above the windscreen there, that section was not healthy. That had some serious rust above it. So yeah, getting all that clean metal, mint, nice and smooth, all ready for primer. That is the worst part of the roof, that really. That just had that was just covered in spider legs. It was really bad. So yeah, you could tell that was a factory paintwork. That hadn't been touched since it come out the factory anyway. But the sides have definitely been flicked, and some of the doors have been flicked in their lifetime. Because yeah, you could tell that from previous videos when I've been stripping the van. So yeah, I've got to get that roof as clean as I can. So yeah, this van has not been the nicest of sprinters, to be honest. There's for the rust again. They're all rusty, but mine's been. In my head, I'm thinking it's a straight clean van, but yeah, no, it's not been the nicest of vans for us, to be fair. especially the passenger side. That is that is not great at all. So yeah, when we get to that stage, that takes a lot of my time up to get through that side of the van because there's a lot of welding to do and stuff. So again, I'm not a welder by trade, so I can get my way around, but I can't. I wouldn't say I'm competent enough to do it. I can get by, but yeah, we're not. That's not what we're skilled at. We're skilled at painting, and that's what we are. We are trained to do. So that's what our profession is, and that's what we're going to be putting knowledge out on, is all the paint work and prepping for paint. So yeah, that's what I spend my time doing 9 to 5, is prepping for paint and painting jobs, polishing jobs, stripping jobs, fitting jobs back together, that sort of stuff. So yeah, you can see I'm just putting tape over that. That's my aerial hole there, for anyone wondering. I'm just putting tape over that to stop any dust going in the cab, because obviously I don't want stuff going in. I want to keep it as clean as I can, even though it's not very clean in there. But yeah, it all does help. But yeah, this takes a lot of my time on the Sunday where I'm in work doing this to get this entire roof done. This was a full day's work just in the roof. That puts into perspective how long it takes you to get something like this to a certain stage where, you know, you can get primer on it slash paint. So yeah, it just for people to put it into context, it was a full sort of 8-9 hour day. Again, this episode, this is over 51 minutes, so this is a lot longer than the others, but this is the most footage of probably one day I've got so far, because there's just so much gone into this roof. Yeah, it was a long old day, this. I was definitely feeling it on the Monday after the 2 days I'd had doing that. You definitely feel it. Yeah, it just seems like I'm rubbing over the same spot and same spot. Because I've been grinding up there, I need to make sure that roof feels mint. I can't have any low spots or any grinding marks that feel low or have still got the coarseness in them. So yeah, I've got to make sure it's all nice and smooth and mint. Again, I'm ripping that back on my back with my backing pad on the hard back of my DA, no soft pad on, keeping it ripping over the metal skin, keeping it with the shape of the roof, just to keep it evened out and stuff. You want to keep it with the shape, you want to go with it, you don't want to go against it. It's easy to, as well, obviously, if you don't keep it moving, you can leave divots and low spots in your panels. You always got to keep your DA moving. Again, them panels are only thin. Not as thin as alley panels. God, do not like aluminium panels on cars. You've only got to look at them and they dent. But yeah, nice steel panels on a Sprinter. Full of rust, but yeah, they're solid enough when you get the clean metal. If you can find any clean metal on one of them. But yeah, it's just one of them. They're just horrible to rub. There's just so much to them. Even on a small wheelbase, it's still a big van. You know, there's still a big van for a small wheelbase, if that makes sense. You know, long wheelbases are just hellish to do. They're not pleasant. You know, you're doing full resprays of them, they're just not great. You definitely wouldn't set up to do that as just a thing. You'd be sick of them. Yeah, it's nice to paint small stuff you've not got to swing off ladders and things for, cars and stuff. You stood on the ground, you're painting the side of a car. You know, there's no stupid platforms and ladders and stuff like that going on. You just stood on the ground, easy days. Not worried about swinging off stuff to get a nice paint job because you can't reach the panel you're painting. That's just not fun. Done plenty of that and it isn't appealing. Not only that, it gets sketchy too. You know, you're swinging off stuff to try and reach over to get paint on something. It's just a nightmare. Again, that's a sunroof cut out. So if I wanted to put a sunroof in that's that cut out. I'd cut out for that. But yeah, we're not putting a sunroof in it. We definitely don't need a sunroof in it. Not enough sun on the Isle Man to warrant cutting a sunroof in. It'd only just leak. I'd just be getting water in the cab all the time. Don't need that. There's enough water got into this van with all the rot that's been around it for long enough. Yeah, that won't be the case when she rolls back out the door of the workshop anyway. Should be nice and watertight, and there'll be plenty of paint on it. But yeah, I'm getting as much of this paint ripped off as I can because that paint hasn't been doing much to protect this girl from rusting in her lifetime. I just don't get how the vans rust so bad. It does. It's just mental. It really is. The way they just rot like in the center of a panel, like it's just weird. It is weird that they just do that. But yeah, I don't know how they still do it to this day. You'd think they'd sort that out. Definitely not a good sales point of view, anyway. Being like, yeah, yeah, just buy a Sprinter. They just rot from the inside out. But then it's a case of what else are you gonna buy? You know, you even buying a Crafter, which is the same van just with a different badge on it, or you're buying a man van, or you're buying a Transit. But you wouldn't buy a Transit. You just wouldn't. Some people do, but yeah, not for me. They're just, yeah, I've seen too many rotten ones of them. They're just the way they're built. I hate the way they're built. I think that's my biggest hate on them. They're just not built nicely. And when I say nicely, there's not been much thought put into how they're built. Like, yeah, they are basic to a point of how they're built, but they're not. They're just not German engineering, and you can just tell when something's been made by the German engineers. Like, you can just tell the quality of the build. It's just so different to how Fords are made or whatever other manufacturer. Like some of the other manufacturers I dislike. But yeah, sometimes the German stuff is overcomplicated though, so I'm not going to say it's all great and it's all good because when they overcomplicate it, they just make it too hard to take apart. But it's because they don't want you to know how to take it apart. You know, they want you to take it to some sort of approved Porsche or VW or Mercedes place where only they've got people that are trained to work on them, that are paid by Mercedes, whatever, to work on motors that are made by them. So yeah, it's all sales tactics. It's all rubbish at the end of the day. You know, people are going to figure out how to take them apart, but they just like making it as hard as they possibly can sometimes to take them apart. But they're not designed to be able to take apart easily. They're built well for that reason, most cars. But yeah, Ford's just no. Again, them channels, they're so rotten in there. Loads of rust scabbing going on. Just using the Hoover off the DA there just to suck any dust out. Don't want to be blowing around the booth in there. As much of it as I can suck away, I will. So yeah, that's what you see me doing there. Just pull the hose off the sander and then just pull the sander down and the machine will fire up and start working as a Hoover effectively. So yeah, it's great for that. So yeah, halfway through the worst bit of the roof there now. So yeah, that front section, that's where I've got my work cut out for me. That's where I've got to spend the most time and just rip and paint back. Well, it's just etch primer left there now, really. That's what that beige stuff is. That's factory etch primer. Get all that ripped back, get to clean metal, and then, yeah, start grinding out any rust that won't sand out. One, it's either too deep or it's been too far gone, so yeah, there'll be some low spots in the metal there. So yeah, we'll have to get the air grinder on that and try and rip that metal back and shape the metal back too. Because you can do that, you know, you can shape metal to the way you want it. You don't always have to put filler in, as long as you know what you're doing and how you're doing it. But yeah, it's good to know them things so you don't always have to rely on filler to be doing that sort of stuff. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be skimming that entire roof section because that wouldn't be fun to rub that. Again, you don't need to be skimming entire roof sections if you don't need to because that's just, yeah, that's some hellish work you're going to get involved in. One, it's a lot of body filler. Two, it's time. Three, it's trying to rub it all in one consistent, you know, pass and cut it all down in an even layer, if you like, so it's all one level, which isn't an easy thing. You know, people think it is, but it's not. It's not an easy job to do that. Again, I don't spend massive amounts of time doing the filler work because it's just not what I'm employed to do. I'm employed to paint, so yeah, it's more of the panel beater side of things, really. But yeah, it is good to do it because you do need to know how to do it, and you got to get skims. You know, you got to get nice skims in. in your jobs when it's like, oh, you gotta get that ready, and it's good to keep your hand at the filler work because you soon lose it and you soon forget how to do it. It's pretty scary how quick you forget to do certain things sometimes. I notice it all the time, like when I haven't done something for a while, and you're like, yeah, I should really be doing more of that because I'm forgetting how to do that. That's not great, and you start worrying then, thinking, no, I can't be forgetting how to do that. But yeah, you soon get it back. Yeah, you don't want to be forgetting to how to do stuff though, so it's always good to keep your hand at certain jobs. Again, keeping all that masking on from yesterday, just I want to reuse that if I can, just because it's means I don't have to redo it for a second time. So yeah, what I did yesterday hasn't been a waste. It's actually sped me up for today in reality. So yeah, it's nice that all that masking can be reused because yeah, it's never nice knowing you've got to rip all your masking off and remask it for a second time. But yeah, you've got to do that when you've primed the job, and then when you're masking it up for paint, you don't want to reuse the same masking. It's obviously all dusty and gritty, and yeah, you don't want to be reusing it. It's just better and more professional to replace it, really. So yeah, that grinder, that's mint. That's a dual action grinder. That has a you can flip a magnet on it and it'll turn into a grinder, or you flip it the other way and it turns into a dual action sander. So it's quite a cool bit of kit that. I don't use that half as much as I should, but yeah, what doesn't appeal to me is the fact I can't use it with a dust extractor. I think that's the main reason I don't really use it, to be honest. Because yeah, again, belt sander can't use that with a dust extractor, but that's not ripping loads of layers of paint off. That's just grinding small little spots out, so that doesn't make a lot of mess or a lot of dust or anything. So yeah, the belt sander's quite nice for that, really. But yeah, you just can't beat using your orbital sander on your dust extractor. Again, all your dust's just going straight into the Hoover, not leaving any mess anywhere. It's just brilliant. Yeah, you can see how much better that roof section is above the windscreen now compared to what it was. That was so bad. That was had so much rust and spider legging up it. There's people seeing in the first video when I started doing the van, or the second video when I started getting on the roof and prepping all the roof up for the first time, started ripping that first layer of paint off just to see what we were getting into. Because yeah, I knew I was going to have to pretty much bare metal this van. It's the only way to do them right. It's easy. It would be easy to just bring the van in, give it a quick rub, and fire it in the booth and paint it. But I'm not keen on doing that because I know this brand of van how bad they rust because I see them all the time and I paint a lot of them. So this is the only way to do one that I'm confident I know it'll last for a long time. Um, I've got pretty much all the rust out of it that I can get access to. There's not much more I can do than that, and I'm using good products that I know are good, that have good reviews, that are good brands. So yeah, there's not much more you can do as long as you're using the right stuff and following the guidelines of how to use it. Then you shouldn't have any problems really. The only times you have problems is when you don't follow the TDS sheet and you say, "Oh, I'm going to do it my way" instead of how the product's been designed to be used. So you shouldn't be having issues, as long as you're following your TDS sheets. It's that simple, really. There's nothing more to say on that. It's, just follow the TDS and, you'll be sweet. You can see some difference in that roof. Like, I'm so happy with how that turned out. Because, yeah, there's some hours have gone into that. This is like 20 minutes of me just prepping that one section. Like, this is 20 minutes of sped up footage. So, yeah, that was I don't even know how long that took that for that one section, but that was most of the morning. Just yeah, it's some actual hellish project to do this. It'll be worth doing when the shell's painted. When I'm about to paint the shell, I'll probably get really giddy, but at this moment in time, I'm having a hard time getting motivated. But yeah, it's just this is the worst part of the job, really. But we're getting there. It's just because it's all weekends and late nights at the minute, but it will be worth it when we get to the stage of mixing 5 liters of that colour up. Yeah, that'll be something cool. That, but at the minute we're not at that stage because that's going to cost me a lot of money to order all them tinters in. Because I'm going to mix a colour myself on the scheme. So yeah, that's going to cost quite a bit in tinters, but it is what it is. It's all good quality paint, so we're happy to pay for it. You know, we don't want to use cheap rubbish stuff. We want to use good quality German stuff. You know, it's mega stuff. So well, that's what we're gonna go with. Again, we use it every day. That's what our scheme is. It's made in the Netherlands, and yeah, it's a lot of what the German cars are painted in. So yeah, it's definitely something to be using. Yeah, it just looks like I'm rubbing that same section over and over again. But yeah, we're not. We've got a lot of rust there that you can't really see on the GoPro. It's not doing it justice. Again, we've got a lot of that annoying flicker going on. It's just absolutely frustrating as hell with all that going on in these videos, to be honest, because I've tried so hard to get rid of it and it's just doing my head in to watch it back and see it. But yeah, we'll get when we get real time footage of painting it. That'll be one for people to watch because yeah, that'll be in real time, and we will hopefully won't have any of that flicker going on when we're painting the van. So yeah, that'll hopefully the people will not be as frustrated to watch the footage when they're not watching a flicker come down the TV screen. Yeah, I've got some filler repairs to do up here. Not many, just two or three. Because again, it's a roof. The roof wasn't that bad anyway, but it's a roof of a van. You know, you're not gonna go getting it absolutely mint because it's just not worth it in my opinion. It's a roof of a van. Again, my van. It doesn't need to be immaculate. Not that there was loads of dents or damage up there. There was only a couple of small repairs to do, and that was basically from rot. Um, you know, just a couple of places where I'd been grinding at the metal, and yeah, I was just like, yeah, they're quite low. They need a skim, and by skim I mean a skim of filler. So yeah, I get some skims knocked up, and yeah, we get them done and get all them feathered out and blocked and repaired. So yeah, this isn't too bad. The main flat part of the roof, it's pretty clean. This, to be honest, it was just mainly above the windscreen. That was where pretty much 80% of the rust was in my roof. I had the odd scab here and there over the main flat part of the roof, but apart from that, it wasn't anything too stressful to get done, really. It was just a case of getting through it as quick as possible. Again, I don't get the gutters done in this video, so my roof gutters, I don't get them done in this video. I'm going to get them done at a later date because I just didn't have time. I just had to get this primed, like the bulk of my roof. So my gutters are like a 2 inch wide strip that run from the front to the back of the roof. So yeah, that's nothing major for me to prep up. So that's what I'm there doing there now, putting that skim in that I was talking about earlier. Skim a filler, get that in, wipe the filler board down, wipe the spreader down with finish so it's clean, ready to go back to it when I need to knock another repair up. Or knock more filler up for a repair, should I say. Again, just making sure I'm keyed up around there, all my hand rubbing, all my edges, making sure they're good. Yeah, all your edges need to be good. Make sure they're all keyed up for primer. Again, it's easy to just pick the DA up and sand all your big, flat, easy stuff, but you got to get your hand rubbing done as well. Where the places where your orbital sander won't get, all your little channels, all your little grooves, all up against your sealer lines. You know, that's all the stuff your DA won't get. So yeah, you have got to get your fingertips in there and rub at it as hard as you can. Well, not as hard as you can, but just harder and quicker you rub, the quicker it's over and done with, and you just get it smashed out. Because yeah, no one enjoys doing the hand rubbing of this job because it's just not pleasant. But you've got to do it. So yeah, that's just a case of just grit your teeth and get it done, get it out of the way. So yeah, it does get annoying when you're on a big roof like that and you've got all them grooves and channels and you've got to go around them all by hand, and you just yeah, it does get annoying. But yeah, I try and get as much of everything as I can on my DA just because it's quicker. Um, yeah, just if most people that do that or do the job will know that as well. It's just quicker and easier. But yeah, obviously there's places you just wouldn't go and put your DA. Like you're not going to put your DA on the edge of the soft pad or the hard back pad and rub it against the car door because you're going to leave a big divot in the side of it. But you know, you've obviously got to use it within reason. Like it's just being smart and knowing how you can use it as well. Because some people use them like noshes and create divots in the side of panels and wonder why they've done it. It's like, well, if you hold it like that, you can't not expect to cause damage. But yeah, it's all part of the learning process. There's some hellish work going into this. It really is. All these channels and grooves that I've got to get keyed up. Again, making sure every bit is sanded well, keyed up, clean paint, clean primer, because I've took that first layer of paint off the entire van. Well, the entire roof at this point, but yeah, it will be the entire van. We're taking that first layer of white off. Again, it just exposes any rust that's all hiding underneath that first layer, because that's where it all hides. It hides under that first layer of white. Yeah, that black powder I'm rubbing in there, that's my guide coat. Because I've been rubbing this roof with 180s, I want to get over this all now with 320 grit. Make sure it's nice and feathered out, ready for my epoxy, because yeah, that's what grade I've got to rub it or finish it in for my epoxy. P320 grit sandpaper. Yeah, so the reason you don't want to leave any 180 grits in it is, yeah, if you prime over them 180s, all your prime is going to sink and shrink, and it's just going to look horrible. It's not going to look pretty. Especially if this primer that I'm using, the TDS specifies you finish in 320 grit, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish it all in P320 grade. That way I know I don't have anything to worry about. So yeah, that's the reason for that as well. People that are wondering out there, that's the main reason. So that's me gonna get them repairs done there now. So that's just me with the normal hand block on the dust extractor. So if you're wondering what that setup is, it's just a normal block. Well, say normal block, body shop block that's designed to go onto a dust extractor, so you can rub filler without it creating a hellish amount of dust around you. So it all goes into the Hoover, doesn't leave dust anywhere. Really great, just healthier for you and just better for the workshop. And it's just all around better for your jobs. You know, they're not covered in layers of dust. So yeah, that's what that is there for people that are wondering. You should always finish your filler repairs with a block by hand. I like to take the first, on some big repairs if you got a lot in, I like to take that first layer of the filler off with my DA, just because it has like a waxy coating sometimes on your fillers. So it's just good to take that off. It's just quicker as well. If you can rip that first layer down with your DA, then it's just going to be quicker for you hand rubbing it. You know, you're just going to get that last final shaping done with your hand block, which is what you want. You know, you'd never finish it with your DA, but, you know, for getting the first layer off, your DA is just there, just rip it back. That's what I do anyway. Not everyone does, but I do it just because it's just quicker and easier. You know, you'd never fully finish a filler repair of your DA, because that's just not what you should do. Making sure them channels, that's where I'm gonna put soft edge in there, mask a soft edge, spray to that, and then yeah, I'll get them gutters done at a later date. For now, I just want to get the main bulk of that roof primed. So then first thing tomorrow morning, Monday morning, I can whip my van out of the booth, and then we can get other jobs in, because that's obviously my biggest worry on the Sunday is I can't afford to leave this roof bare metal another night or another day now, especially when we go into all this extent now. It's a case of, right, can't go home until this is done, because all this work will be wasted then. Because if you let that sit overnight, it's just going to start going orange. All your metal's going to start going surface rusting, and just gets a light orange, like a light orange layer of rust over it. And it's just annoying, because then you got to sand everything you've already sanded again. So yeah, that's the reason for that. Because yeah, we can't leave the workshop, or we can't leave the booth until this is done tonight, whatever time I get it done. Yeah, so I'm just trying not to think about that at this point. I'm just cracking through it. Just get me done. Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into this. Really, people have no idea the hours you have to put in to get something to this stage, let alone to painting it. Like that's again, that's all coming. We've got that to come. Need to free up the memory card and the GoPro. Got so much footage of all this going on. There's just too much of it. But yeah, it's all good content. Well, I think it is anyway. I probably think that because it's my van. But yeah, for people that like to see what goes into painting one of these vans. You know, it's good for them to see it as well because it is interesting. You know, if you're into that sort of stuff. But yeah, I've got some nice footage of some cars. We'll get that up shortly as well because that will be really interesting to see some nice cars getting painted. I like painting nice cars. Again, stood on the ground, not swinging off ladders. Don't do swinging off ladders. It's just not exciting. So I'll be doing painting this van, painting the roof of this. I'll be swinging off ladders and I'll be kicking off, wearing the air feds, screaming to myself, "I hate painting sprinters." But yeah, I've got to paint my own because it's my own. But yeah, I'm moaning now just because I want to see the thing painted. I'm just getting sick of seeing it all ripped back, half bare metal, half epoxied. Patches of welding that I've just welded in. As I'm doing the audio, I've done my welding on the roof that I didn't do when I was doing this video. So yeah, I've done that. I've had my sliding door rail off, and obviously I've got all that repaired. So yeah, we've got some more repairs done anyway. So we're not far now from having the full shell and primer. And then it's a case of blocking the 2/4 panels. I'm not going to block the roof. I'm just going to DA the roof. I'll probably block above the windscreen. I'll block the 2/4 panels, and that's it. The rest of it will just get DA'd and rubbed by hand. And then yeah, we'll get the shell primed in black then. And then yeah, we're on for a winner because yeah, once it's prime black, that's it. It's getting rubbed for paint then, and yeah, it's home stretch really. Panels and plastics. And yeah, final touches. So yeah, it's all gonna get exciting once the shell's done. This is the boring part now for everyone. So yeah, everyone that is sticking around for the most boring part, I do appreciate it because I'm just waffling on rubbish to try and cover some of this interesting video that's going on that people do think is interesting. um, yeah, it's probably not interesting to some people. Me just going around a roof and rubbing it, moving up and down ladders. But yeah, this is what I've got to do to get it ready for paint. So yeah, this is what you're witnessing. Obviously, I am quite a clean person, but yeah, when you're on the roof of a van like that, all your sanding discs just get wrung off to the side because you don't want to be leaving them up there and going around chasing them off again. So yeah, I just throw them on the floor and then just do a clean up at the end. Just easier that way. Sometimes I've got a little bin next to me and just get them in there, but again, just on a weekend, just trying to smash it out. So yeah, that was probably the worst scab I had in the middle of the roof. The one to the right there that I'm on now, that was pretty bad. That, pretty sure I ended up putting a skim of filler in that because that was quite deep. I was surprised that didn't go into a hole because I actually went inside the van and looked underneath, and I was pretty shocked to see that the skin was clean inside. I thought it had scabbed right the way through, but it hadn't. So yeah, I was quite surprised at that because that was a bad one. Um, but yeah, that was probably the worst one up there. Yeah, and it wasn't bad, but it was bad enough that I thought it was going to be rotten. But it doesn't take much for these things to look rotten and be rotten. You know, as soon as you start poking them with something like a screwdriver, you're straight through that first skin, and you're like, ooh, that's not pleasant. Now we're into some welding. That's what it was like when I took my sliding door rail off and I started poking around that last hole, and the metal pick I was using just went straight through, and I was just like, ah, oh, here we go. Yeah, I wasn't amused at that, but yeah, that's all welded up now, and I got some skims in that today. So yeah, we're getting there with that. But yeah, I should have put these out probably 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I've just been so busy with getting other stuff done. I've just been struggling to find the time. So yeah, we're a bit behind on releasing these now, but need to get them out because the GoPro's getting full, the memory card. But yeah, we're not far off really. We'll try and get all caught up to when we're back to putting these out as like the van is going on in real time. Because yeah, as I'm doing the audio to this, I'm pretty far on ahead with where I actually am. So like the windscreen's actually out the van now too. So yeah, that's pretty good now because it just means I can get around the windscreen aperture and get all that cleaned up. And it wasn't actually too rusty when the guy took the screen out. I had a good look around and I was like, oh my god, that's probably the cleanest part of the van. The windscreen bond's been doing its job, keeping the water out. So yeah, I was quite happy with that. So yeah, we'll have to dig all that sealer out soon and go from there. Because yeah, all that sealer won't be too fun to dig out. Yeah, as long as you got the right tool for the job though, digging that windscreen sealer out, it's not too bad. Again, them wire wheels, the stainless ones, putting them on one of the Blue Point Air tools and just ripping at it with one of them or the crud fug and just digging the sealer out that way. Because it's just one of them things. It's so hard to get off, and I want to get it all off to make sure there's no rust hardening behind it. Um, so yeah, that's the reason I'm gonna dig it all out. Not that I want to paint all the aperture properly. So yeah, I want to get all that window bond off and clean it up. Make sure that it's got a good key for the next windscreen that's going to go in because it's getting a brand new screen put in it. And obviously there's two side windows that'll be going in. So yeah, they're going to have a good bond because obviously they've not had windows put in before, so there's no excess or previous window bond or sealer there to dig out just around the windscreen aperture. So yeah, we'll get that sorted again. That'll be further down the line, that. But yeah, we'll get back to releasing these in more real time because I'm a bit further on now than when I'm releasing this. So yeah, it's been a bit manic trying to get all these edits out because I've got so much content of the project. Because if you didn't see all this, you just wouldn't think I'd gone to the extent I've gone to paint it. You know, so that's what's good for people to see. Keep banging on about that, but like it just is the way that is. You know, you wouldn't believe that it's taken what it's taken to get it to this stage and to get it to the final stage it's going to look like when it's all done and painted and driving down the road. Because that's what matters, you know, 2 years, 5 years down the line, however long, does it still look like it did the day it was painted? Does it still look mint? And if it does, well, yeah, it's been done good. Good job. So yeah, that'll be a telltale sign. But yeah, I'm confident if I've still got the van in 10 years, it'll still look pretty decent. It'll still look mint. You know, there's no reason why not. If I'm washing it, you know, not washing it with any harsh acids or anything, you know, soft, pH neutral stuff for paintwork that's not going to burn in. Nothing caustic or anything like that. You don't want to be washing your motors with anything like that because it just burns paintwork and plastic trims. Yeah, so you want to stay away from all them sorts of cleaning products when you're washing your stuff, when your car, van, whatever you're washing, bike, any paintwork. Um, there's reasons for certain cleaners and why certain cleaners are so expensive. It's not just because it's a certain brand, it's because it doesn't have harsh chemicals in it that burn your paintwork or burn your plastic or, you know, eat into your rubbers or anything like that. Um, so yeah, there is reasons for cleaners being so expensive. You know, that's probably the best explanation I can give on that. But yeah, there is reasons for it. But yeah, you can't beat proper wheel acid. Even though I don't like acids, we're using proper wheel acid to clean wheels. Yeah, you should always wear a face screen because that stuff will burn your eyes. But yeah, you should always wear a proper face screen when you're using that stuff. But yeah, nothing cleans wheels like wheel acid. But yeah, it's just ruthless. It's proper ruthless, that stuff. Again, I'm on the home stretch now, so yeah, this is so good. I'm back to where I started, back on that side, coming back to that top windscreen aperture now, and then I'm gonna be just throwing some fresh masking up around that top edge of the van where I'm gonna be spraying to. Obviously, I don't want to be spraying over where I've just epoxied that side the day before because it's obviously not keyed up. So yeah, I just want to throw a strip of brown paper down that, and then yeah, won't worry about the rest of it. Yeah, it's taken me all day just to get that roof how I wanted it. And again, I've still not done the full roof because I've got two small sections left to prime. But yeah, I've got some welding left on the back end of the roof where someone's had a light in the roof. So yeah, they've ripped all the skin and been drilling and ratcheting at it. So the skin's not in the nicest of states up there. So yeah, we've got a bit of work cut out. Yeah, that is pretty sure that is me now. Yeah, here we go. Blowing her all off. Getting her all clean, ready for masking now. Getting all that dust, any dirt and stuff off. Get her all blown down. Then we'll get her all masked up, and then we'll look at getting her all degreased. Yeah, some dust on the floor there too. It's always good to give the floor a blow in your booth. Does make a massive difference when you blow the floor. Again, you're driving in there, there's dirt and dust on the tyres, so that, that gets all tracked in. Yeah, you see how much dust's coming off that roof there. You can see it when it's blowing along the top edge of the windscreen. Obviously, it's all sat in that top rubber. So yeah, it doesn't take much for me to mask what I need to mask on this, because most of it's already done from the day before. Just got to run a few strips of paper in here and there, and then I'm pretty much good to go. Obviously, I want to seal that hole up so nothing goes inside again. Don't want any overspray going inside the van and landing on anything I don't want it to. So yeah, that's what a fold back is. I basically fold the tape back, so I've got a little flap, and it leaves like a nice little flap to blow the paint or primer into, so you don't get a hard edge. That's how like smart repair boys will do blow-ins and stuff, and myself included. And when I do blow-ins, you just use a soft edge. So yeah, soft edges are just great. They're one of my best friends. Doing a soft edge just gets you out of a lot of situations that make your life hard in this trade. You just go to your soft edge and you're just like, yeah, soft edge off. Then you're trying to blow lacquer and stuff on bumpers when you've got to do a smart repair. Customer doesn't want to pay for the full bumper, and it's like, oh, they only want to pay for half. or they only want half doing, and so it's like, right, got to do a blow in there. So yeah, that's where your soft edges come in. But yeah, it's also knowing how to flick colour, lacquer, where and not where to flick. If you're only doing half, you can't be putting colour where you don't want to be putting colour. But yeah, that's just down to experience, and that just comes down to doing the job, really. Again, not flicking you clear too far and past your blowing point, and then yeah, you just don't want that either. So yeah, doing blow-ins, you got to know what you're doing, and it can go wrong pretty quickly. They're not for the faint-hearted people anyway, because yeah, it does get stressful and it does get irritating when they go wrong. Because then you're painting the job again, painting jobs twice. There's no profit in doing jobs twice, so you want to avoid that as much as you can, but it's not easy. It's not easy. You don't always get it right first time. I certainly don't get it right first time every time, but that's the perks of learning. So yeah, my schoolboy error from yesterday where I should have went in the cab and masked that aerial hole. So I didn't need to do that yesterday, even though I said I did, because I'd put paper over the top of the hole. But obviously, because today we're priming the full entire roof, obviously I can't have that hole exposed from the inside, so I need to cut a hole in, go in the cab, reach up in and put some 2-inch tape just over that hole, stop any overspray going in. Yeah, just finishing off that roof gutter. Again, soft edge all the way along there, just to give me a nice soft edge to blow this primer into. Again, I'm not too worried about the down where I've not covered. I'm not worried, because again, the whole van, the rest of the van's getting rubbed again anyway. So yeah, this is where I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to cut that open now to get in there. I was looking for a blade, I couldn't find a blade anywhere. So yeah, schoolboy error from yesterday. I should have thought about that, but I was just trying to think about too many things at once and forgot. Again, it's not the end of the world. I've just cut myself a little doorway in. You can see that little hole up through. So that's where the aerial fixes to from the inside. So yeah, that's where I don't want overspray coming down through in, landing in the cab, going on the dash, landing on all my seats. Destroying all. Just yeah, overspray. You just don't get it off easily. It's just not pleasant to get off. So yeah, should have done that yesterday. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But yeah, hey ho, here we are. Not the end of the world. So yeah, again, Octral panel wipe, solvent-based degreaser. Again, when you've got panels back to bare metal like that, you'd be surprised how dirty the cloths get when you're wiping them. You're wiping a panel like that, they get really bad for like black, and the dirt that comes out the metal is not nice. So yeah, you want to make sure that's as clean as you can. As soon as your cloths are getting really black and you can't find a clean area, just bin them and get a fresh cloth. You don't want to be rubbing contaminants around the roof of your van or your panel, whatever it is you're painting, because you're only going to spread it around. If you've got silicone up there and you're using the same cloth over the full roof or the full panel you're doing, you're just spreading it around at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm pretty
I wouldn't say I'm bad for using quite a few cloths, but yeah, as soon as I get dirty and haven't got a clean square, because I fold them into 4 quarters. You want to be getting the best out of your cloths, because again, they're not cheap. But if you've used every side of it and it's all black, then you've just bin it and get a new one. You don't want to be, for the sake of contaminating the job and having to paint the job twice. Just bin that cloth. No one wants. It's cheaper for you to bin a cloth than it is to paint a job again. And that's the way you got to look at that. So yeah, you don't want to be using. I've yeah, you just don't want to be stingy with your panel wipe rags. You want to be using quite a few of them. You want to make sure your metal or your panel's clean, especially if they're coming off as black or as dirty as they are on for me on this roof. Because yeah, that's a telltale sign. There's a lot of dirt up there. So yeah, I want to get that mint, especially for priming and painting. Anything you're putting on, um, you've got to make sure your panel's clean. Otherwise, your stuff isn't going to stick or adhere to the panel. You know, it's got to be clean, degreased. Paint does not stick over grease. For people that don't know that, you got everything's got to be so clean in this job. People that aren't clean generally they would not like it or enjoy it because everything's clean, clean, clean. And it's just the way it is, unfortunately. Yeah, and that's a goal. That's my go-to gun. That's an absolute workhorse of a gun. So I'm spraying this at 2 to 1, 10% thinner ratio, 2 bar or just over 2 bar, full fan. I think I'm about 2 turns out on the fluid. Just for the first coat. I think on the second coat we go to about 3 turns out just to get plenty of product on there. Again, I'm going to be rubbing it all, so I don't want to be rubbing through on any edges, so I want to make sure there's plenty on there. Again, I don't want to be making swimming pools up there of primer, but I want to be getting a nice wet coat on that I'm not going to rub through it that easily, so yeah, I'm just making sure I've got plenty on there. It would have been nice for the screen to be out for this one, but yeah, it is what it is. It just means I've got the windscreen aperture to prep and some other small bits, but it's not the end of the world. Again, this is just how I've got to do the project. With me doing it at weekends and after 5 o'clock, this is just the way I've got to do the project. So again, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, it's just nice to see some sort of spraying now for people that want to see spraying content. Especially because it's my van. It's nice to see me getting some primer on now because that's a big milestone getting that roof done. I was so happy when I was at this point, but I was so drained and I was so tired. Like it was getting sketchy because I was trying to swing off them ladders and lean over and try and get that full front section in one pass, but I just had to stop short because I was going to fall off them ladders there, so can't be doing that. Yeah, 3 coats of this and then we're away, we're home, we're out of here. This is late. I'm tired at this point. This is pushing on now on a Sunday, probably about 7 o'clock. So yeah, I was just so itching to get that done because this has been like a 9 hour day, and I was yeah, it was just it was proper slogging through. Yeah, getting a good wet coat on now. That second coat that's flashed off for about 15-20 minutes. It's quite warm in there. It's probably about 30 degrees in the booth, so that doesn't take long to flash off. Again, just making sure all them overlaps, making sure I'm getting a nice good coat on because again, I'm going to be rubbing it all. I don't want to be rubbing it back through to bare metal because then all this work is defeated. It's pointless then, if you rub through and all your edges and it's all bare metal again. Like, yeah, I'm going to prime the van again, but it's not the point. I don't want to have to, the point of putting epoxy on is for its corrosion resistance and its, durability. So I don't want to be rubbing it all through by putting really thin coats on, if that makes sense to people. So yeah, that's what I mean by that. It's a happy medium. You want to get that. You want to get your primer on nice and wet and like a decent coat of it, but you don't want to be. You don't want to be putting it on that it's all heavy and crinkling. You don't want to be putting obviously because I'm painting a flat roof. You don't want to be putting swimming pools of it up there because it's just never going to go off. It's just going to stay soft. So yeah, you want to be moving quite consistently as well with your overlaps. Not moving too slow but not too quick that you're getting it all on dry and rough. The texture's going on really rough. You don't want that. So yeah, my third coat, I'm pretty sure that went on for like 4 turns out, 2 bar pressure, and just a little bit slower, just to get as much build on as I could. Because obviously that third coat, that's the first layer that's going to be getting sanded off effectively. So yeah, just getting as much on that third coat as I possibly can, within reason. Again, not flooding the panel, but getting enough on that I'm not going to rub through when I rub that, because I will rub that third coat off. That will get rubbed off, probably down to 1.5 layers of epoxy by the time it's, all rubbed, ready for its, full black prime. So yeah, just to put that in, just because obviously people don't know how much of it you rub off. You're probably going to rub 1.5 layers off. Ideally, it'd be nice to tell people what it would be in microns, but I don't have a micrometer reader. That basically reads how many layers of paint and primer on your panel, how thick it is in the depth. So yeah, that's what that is. We don't have one of them, or I don't have one of them. Yeah, we'll probably get one at some point, but yeah, it's not a massive. You don't massively need them unless you're painting jobs where they specify a certain amount of microns on the panel. Then yeah, obviously you need that. But for what we're doing, we don't need that where we are. We're not painting stuff to that extent. So yeah, it's just more so for people that are all items or products that have to have a certain amount of layers on, or microns that specify. So yeah, we don't have to worry about that. There's plenty of paint on this girl. That's all I'm worried about. Plenty of primer, plenty of rust protection. But yeah, I just want to say thanks for everyone for sticking around on this one, because this has been quite a boring long one. But yeah, just if you would give us a like and subscribe, everyone, that would be really appreciated. So thank you very much.